If you are looking to add some custom artwork to your home but don't want to spend a lot of money on a piece at the store, then this video is for you. So this project was completely made of scrap material that I had around my home, piled up in my garage, some leftover paint, and this piece of beadboard that I got from my neighbor who had some leftover construction material. So I knew as soon as I saw the beadboard that I could do something with it because I just absolutely love beadboard. It gives off such a farmhouse vibe to me. So I started out by painting it white with just some leftover paint that we had from painting the walls in our home. And then I decided to do this design with some blue paint that I got from Dollar Tree in the craft section. I just thought it was kind of the perfect coastal blue for the direction that I wanted this to go in. And so I just started working from the bottom up and doing a little bit of an ombre effect and kind of mixing it in together. Then I got some scrap wood out of our garage to start making the frame for the artwork, and there's no surprise that we have plenty of scrap wood to choose from, but I think this was actually left over from a couple homeowners ago. And so I thought it was the perfect size for a frame, and so I measured the beadboard and then I started making the measurements for the wood frame and making the cuts. Now I wanted to go with a more farmhouse rustic design, so I didn't do any 45-degree angles. I just wanted them all squared off. Now the thickness of the board was 5/8 inch thick, so I multiplied that by 2, and then I added that to the overall length of the board for the top and bottom of the frame because I wanted those to go all the way across, and I wanted the sides of the frame to set inside and butt up next to the top and the bottom. Next, I started sanding the pieces that we had just cut, and as you can see from all that sanding dust, it definitely have had a lot of sanding projects going on lately. But I normally start out with a more rough grit sandpaper, so usually an 80 or a 120, and then I like to finish with a 220 to get that more smooth finish. And I like to take that 220 and just kind of round the edges. I don't do this on every project, but on this one I thought it gave it a little bit more finished look to have the edges of the frame a more round look. So once I had all the pieces of wood sanded, I laid them all out on a level surface. I did the outline of how I wanted the frame to look. And so like I mentioned before, that I wanted the tops and the bottom pieces to span all the way across and to cover the ends of the side pieces. So kind of like the side pieces were going to be inset and the tops and bottom pieces were going to cover those edges. And so once I had it all laid out and I had it nice and level and square, which means that my cuts were good, I took the finishing nail gun and I just put a nail in each corner, and then I flipped it over and I did the exact same thing, one nail in each corner. And then when I was done, we had the makings of our frame. And so I kid you not when I said I used scrap material that I had laying around to make this project. I literally did. I have a million of these paint sticks, and I decided to use those as the backing to hold the beadboard into place. And I didn't need anything super sturdy, didn't need a big thick piece of wood. The beadboard's not super heavy, and so I just needed something to go across the back, something small that I could cut down and just connect that beadboard to. And so I cut them at 45-degree angles on each end. They fit perfectly laying across the corners, and then I just took the pneumatic stapler and stapled those on. Really soft wood, so it was really easy to staple through. And then that gave us the perfect support system for the beadboard to rest on and to connect to. And so now you can see from the front view that I have the system to connect the beadboard to, and I don't have to worry about it falling out of the frame whenever I put it on the wall. And so now that everything was built and the support structures were in, I wanted to just do a dry fit, wanted to make sure that the beadboard was actually going to fit inside the frame before I did any more work on the frame as far as staining goes and finishing work. And so it did take a little bit of force, a little bit of maneuvering and convincing, but I did get it in there. It is a nice snug fit, which is what I wanted anyways. And of course, Wood is not all perfect and square and flat. This is a scrap piece of wood, so it probably had a little bit of warping to it. But I did get it in there. It was a nice, good fit. And as you can see, there's the front and then there's the back. It is bedded up perfectly to the little support. And so next was time to put some stain on. I swear that was not a mouse that ran across the bottom of the screen. That was totally a leaf that was blown into the garage from the wind. But I just did a natural stain. It was something I had left over from another project. And I really honestly kind of liked the color of the wood that it already was. I just wanted to enhance it a little bit, give it that finished look. I didn't want to change the color of it. It went with the color of the other wood tones that I already had going on in the living room. So I just did a natural stain. I took a foam brush. It really didn't take much stain at all. I just took a foam brush, brushed it on there, and then I did use an old t-shirt for a rag. Literally one of my favorite things to use when staining is just an old t-shirt rag. But I used that to wipe it off. You don't have to worry too much about when to wipe it off when using the natural stain because you're not worried about it getting too dark, staying on there too long. But then I flipped it over and did the back side and just made sure I had everything covered and then waited a few hours for everything to dry. Once we were good and dry, I inserted the beadboard back into the finished frame. It was that nice snug fit, so I didn't really worry about it going anywhere, but I did have the supports in place, and so I wanted to use them. And so I just took the pneumatic stapler again and stapled through the supports into the beadboard. Now, obviously, you want to make sure that the material that you're stapling into is thick enough that the little, oh, there's my little helper. But you want to make sure that the material that you're stapling into is thick enough that the staples are not going to come through on the other side and protrude through your finished artwork because it's something you definitely do not want to happen. So you put a lot of work into that. And then the final step before taking this bad boy inside to hang on the wall is just attaching the little Sawtooth picture hangers. This was just in a kit and came with the little nails to nail those in. And then these are my all-time favorite drywall anchors. Whenever you don't have a stud to nail into or to screw into, these are my go-to. John Mark definitely said it was overkill to use these, but I'm always scared of things falling off the wall, especially because it was hanging over the toy area in our living room. But here it is, y'all. She's up, and I'm obsessed with the finished product. It's totally giving me all the coastal farmhouse vibes that I was looking for. And sometimes it catches my eye, and I'm still kind of in shock to be like, hey, I actually did that. But I think that's what's awesome about the DIY process, and that's why I want to make these videos and show this journey and hopefully inspire others that they too can do these projects. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to be able to do more of these in the future.